Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Save the Silly Humans podcast on February 9th, 2018. Joining me today is Fear Porn Propaganda, my old buddy. How you doing?
How's it going? Good to see you, or talk to you at least.
Yeah, and I forgot to pause my watch page there. So, yeah, wow, so many things that we could talk about. This will be an informal broadcast. We're pretty much just going to kind of freestyle it and kind of go through some of the issues that are plaguing our planet right now. So, how you been doing there, Fear Porn?
I've been doing pretty good.
Yeah,
I also go by Cons Piracy and Wisecraft as well.
right. And you can find him on YouTube and pretty much where else you at? Twitter?
I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter as code something code. Wait, hold on. Code game. No, Quest. Code Quest. Or no, it's eDocSick. It's Code Quest backwards.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't use it very often, but I use it usually for my conspiratorial processes of Twitter.
Right. Well, let's see what we were doing last. I think we were playing with the Cleverbot AI the last time we spoke, weren't we?
I think so. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was the before the whole what is it called? DeepMind or something like that. I don't know, some Google AI system that was kind of building its own language to talk to the other AI bots and shit. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, that was really trippy. I know what you're talking about. It was like using double vowels and things like that, which looked strange to the human eye, but made more sense to them for some reason. They like created their own way. It's like a twin, like how twins talk to each other. It was like that, but on a mathematical level and associated with artificial intelligence processes.
Exactly, yeah. Or autonomic systems, as they prefer to be called.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, we've come a long way since then. I mean, crap. We got the 5G, we got the smart grid now, the Internet of Things. Even people are going to be getting IP addresses.
Yeah, that's right. That's going to be crazy.
Oh, it's going to be bizarre. I think.
Have you seen that? I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt, but something popped into my mind. Have you seen that show? It just came out. I talked that like switches people's skins. It's called Altered Carbon. It's on,
yeah. I actually I just binge watched the entire season last week, and
yeah, crazy, right?
It had some pretty creepy aspects to it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like the whole living for a long period of time because you're switching with people, and also switching like yourself, like with the whole cloning aspect. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a lot of predictive programming in that.
Absolutely. And I like how the body, in my opinion. Yeah, well, they were calling people's bodies sleeves, you know, and they were, if no one's actually watched the show, basically what it's about is about prolonging your life by just downloading your entire mind and consciousness into a chip, and that chip goes into a sleeve. So you just keep like clones. Remember at the
and a sleeve is a person. It's like a person, like a body, and you can take other people's bodies and whatever. They kind of and they kind of like, you know, address that in different ways.
Without spoiling the show too much, there's a crazy scene where one of the characters and ends up in another sleeve's cloning bay, and every time this woman gets killed, another one pops out the window. It was crazy. One after another just kept coming out. It's the same broad.
Well, I'm not even there yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, I don't want to spoil the context.
No, just kind of throw it out there. It's very what's it called? Transhumanist story.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, they didn't hold the body with any regard whatsoever. It was like it was just it was like
like something like a nail on your finger. I don't even know how they saw it.
Yeah, it really shows.
And you know, I wonder, like, the clones that they were growing or whatever, if they had if they did have a sentience before they took it out.
Right. Well, you know, the only thing that they left out was basically having artificial consciousnesses being put into these sleeves.
You're right.
that's the I think that's the next step, maybe season 2. But yeah, what a creepy show. And speaking of
although
creepy shows,
that kind of happened in Gattaca. I mean, not Gattaca, Caprica. On a robotic level, because she ended up changing from body to body before she found the one that she wanted to be in.
Right. Yeah, actually, I think it kind of came out at the wrong time. Caprica did, because
definitely, it was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it fell under a lot of people's radars, and if people don't know, Caprica is basically a spin-off of the newly envisioned Battlestar Galactica series.
Galactica, yeah.
So, and it got to a point where, yeah, I think Dr. Greystone, I think his name was, and his daughter ends up getting killed in a terrorist bombing, of course, fitting for the time. And yeah, he ends up getting her digital imprints from her online activities and basically built an AI model of his own daughter in virtual space. And anyway, there's a whole lot more to the story, but yeah, definitely filled up with a lot of propaganda for transhumanism. Absolutely.
Oh, that brings me to the 2045 thing. You know how we've talked about global future 2045 in the past?
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat screen here. Sherry Sherry says that sleeve tech already exists. Was in a tech show last year. Huh, interesting.
Oh wow, that's creepy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows what they're doing behind closed doors as well, and especially in other countries. In other countries outside the law, for instance, like Antarctica and a couple other places, I'm sure they have some research facilities where some crazy crap is probably happening. But I mean,
what's your opinion on that new movie, Enter Player One, which is based on a book? It takes place in 2045, and they go into a place called the Oasis, which is like a virtual reality kind of 24/7 world or universe.
Right.
And so they suspend their actual life for the universe, for this Oasis place. And so there's some, I don't know, I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, I haven't read the book, so I don't know the deeper elements of it, but this is what I got from the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
But and they basically have a lot of trophy things like from the 80s in there for the video game element.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But I found it interesting that it takes place in 2045. Oh, it's Enter Player One.
Okay, I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's I mean, just for what it is, looks very interesting. Kind of another transhumanist story, but through the process of video games, like as if we become a culture of video game people. And so we're no longer like living in our houses, like, and caring about them and stuff. Like these houses are all built on top of each other, and then they basically all live in this virtual environment.
Yeah.
With their mind, but then they come out, and do their own like life scenario, and then go back into it, and it's kind of like you're seeing both sides. This crappy universe, this crappy future, versus this awesome place that's like exists within this crappy future that you have to enter through cyberspace, through a digital format.
Right, kind of like a gateway almost.
Yeah, that brings me to the what we talked about in the past, that movie called Congress, where they actually took the that woman Robin Wright Penn, and they made her into like an icon, and they basically copied her. So then she didn't need to exist anymore. They let her go to this. They basically paid for her whole persona, and they sent her off to some like other place. Then she comes back as an old woman, and she has to enter into this virtual space to even see all the people that are her fans, that are like associated with her. It's very strange. It's that idea of digital copying leading to actors no longer needing to act. All they need, all they're needed for is basically their voice. But even that can be used, basically copied and then used to where they could be, not needed anymore. Like think of the holograms that they use for like Prince and the Elvis and what's this Tupac. You know what I mean? Like those are like personas that are now being used because these people are no longer around, but it's like they're still around. so it's like this, but they're not, in the sense that it's a virtual thing, and it's like, are we going to get used to that?
Right.
As a culture, to where we just get used to people dying and becoming holograms, or even being paid off for their whole persona. And so when you're watching them on TV or whatever you're watching them on, like a sitcom or a show or a movie, it's like a digital appearance that looks exactly like the person.
Right.
And sounds exactly like the person, moves exactly like the person. Like no longer are they needing the person.
I get what you're saying. Actually, it sounds very similar to a couple concepts that the show Black Mirror touches on.
Yeah, definitely. Black Mirror is a really good show. Recommend that.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
And it shows a lot of like what we're facing.
And we have Brian with us. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, what's up, man?
How's your day?
You go to view to join.
The audio quality is
not very good.
The audio quality is way worse on the live call. So sorry about that. I just wanted to chime in though, because we keep talking about like artificial intelligence and stuff like that.
You're like, that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, that's it's some pretty nutty stuff in that show, Black Mirror. Actually, highly recommend it to everyone because it shows very, very possible future in several different cases.
Go ahead. You were saying?
Hello.
What happened to Ryan? Oh, maybe he had to take a call.
I'm still here. It's just the audio
there you go.
quality is really bad. So I'm just going to like hang out for a bit, see if it resolves itself, and then chime in if I think of something to say.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Yeah, sure. You were saying something about the about how we were talking about artificial intelligence. Did you have anything to say about that?
Actually, yeah. There's this guy I found. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and he's this Israeli historian. But he's been like touring all over these academic circuits, talking about artificial intelligence and having these debates with philosophers and things like that. And one of the things that he's brought up, which I think is pretty interesting, is this idea that whoever owns the data can then suddenly like potentially subject people to like what's called a digital tyranny. And I think if we're talking about like the importance of net neutrality and the free flow of information, I think that's one element that needs to be considered.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that because I lean towards the idea that net neutrality is kind of a waste of time. It's regardless, we're always playing on their playground, right? It is the ARPANET after all. So I think they create this illusionary idea that we have rights when they can pull the plug anytime. They can make whatever changes they want. They could literally shut the internet down if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always, like those petitions and what have you, I've always signed them just in case, but I mean, at the same time, I don't fully believe that it's a real thing.
Yeah, I think it's a real concern. And then I want to see that show you guys are talking about on Netflix. I just heard about it today. What's it called?
Altered Carbon?
Altered
Carbon.
I'm going to check that out tonight. I'm going to subject my wife to it. And
she'll like it too, I'm sure.
Oh, totally. We'll have some interesting conversations about it, I'm sure.
It's very well done.
Yeah. Well, this guy Yuval Noah Harari, look him up. He has some really interesting talks. He does like a TED Talks and stuff. Like, I agree with a lot of what he says, although I don't think I would personally have a very good conversation with him. He tends to have this like attitude, like, I don't know, like what you're saying isn't really as important. Like he's already considered it, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But he said something that I agree with, and that's, I think technology is emerging as an evolutionary force of nature, meaning that it will like affect the future of our species in ways that like completely alter, you know, to a fundamental level what we are and how we interact with reality.
Yeah,
I have to agree with you on that one.
I would have to agree
you
as
know,
well.
It's happening more socially right now, but I think the long-term effect will be a physical adaptation for sure. Absolutely, I agree.
Well, look at the people that can't even like, talk to other people that are even in the same room without texting. I mean, it's like at that point, it's going to be like those people. I've been noticing a lot of people, especially where I work, that there's they have wearables. They have these watch things or band things. To where they basically just pay for stuff with that. And that reminds me of like the whole idea of putting a chip in you.
Yeah,
A digital angel from back in the day that used to put chips in animals originally, and then they started putting chips in children in like Europe.
I think we're gonna move more toward like brain interfaces.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah,
and
the technology definitely is neuro.
Yeah, like the biohacking aspect of it, which is another, of course, concern because not everyone's going to be able to.
That's kind of addressed in that Altered Carbon movie. I mean, show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Actually, you know where I think we're headed. Actually, I think the blockchain is going to be a big technology, especially for this kind of a purpose, because it's a peer-based distributed system. It's probably going to be a lot more reliable and a lot more difficult to hack, basically. And it looks like blockchain is probably going to be definitely used for something like that. Because you got to remember too, a lot of people don't factor in, like Toshiba had a patent on this stuff called Smart Dust, like, and this is 10
oh yeah,
years ago.
Yeah, I seen that in that that NASA thing in 2005.
Yeah,
they were talking about Smart Dust.
Yeah, and like this, I mean, people could already be, infused with this shit, right? So I mean, I'm just looking at it from perspective that a distributed network for monitoring people. Can you imagine that? You know what I mean? Especially if it's run by a quantum computer or something along those lines. I mean, it's possibilities are endless, really. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm a bit concerned.
Yeah, I keep hearing like because I listen to the academic circuits and stuff like that, and I listen to a lot of like TED Talks or like world science forums and stuff, and it seems like what they're saying is we are definitely doing this stuff, but the question is like never seems to come up, should we do this stuff, or if we do, are there certain like limitations that we should put on it, like moral or ethical limitations?
And I feel like those are good questions.
I feel like that doesn't get addressed as much as it should.
Yeah, it can go in either direction, I think.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing about technology. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad.
That's just it.
It's going to be used for both.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's inevitable.
In a true and just world, I mean, technology can be a very good thing. I mean, it's an assistive technology, basically. But I mean, yeah, if it's wielded by people with, no morals, I mean, who knows what they're going to do with it. You can see those effects everywhere too. I mean, like like look at the COINTELPRO and everything else that's been happening. I mean, definitely somebody's up to some funny business, basically.
Oh yeah, it's always going on. And then you kind of have to ask yourself, when you're introducing essentially a new species, what kind of world are you introducing it to? Because it's going to respond to its environment. Like, not to say that it's inevitable that artificial intelligence will be as sophisticated as human consciousness, but if it were, just to entertain the idea, then we're bringing it into a world where advancements are achieved through like amoral means, and it's essentially because if you don't have a moral, essentially like a block, something that keeps you from doing something else, you're not going to get ahead as much as the next guy who doesn't have those impediments. That's just like how economy works. So
I think
why are we even pushing the limits of artificial intelligence? I mean, is it just because we can, or we just want to see
what's going to
happen? I don't understand that. I mean, I've been asking that question for a long time, because it's like, it seems like we're just doing it and we have no real reason for it other than laziness. I want my technology to help me do things that I could already do myself faster.
Well, I mean, who remembers phone numbers anymore?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Nobody.
Like,
nope. Like, maybe people that are like seeing them all the time, I mean, that's about it. But like, I mean, or maybe even people that have photographic memory.
Right. Yeah. Well, I take the bus to my job, right? And I'm amazed at how many people just all have their faces in their bloody phones. I don't even like to bring my phone with me, to be honest.
Yeah, pick up a book or something.
Yeah, book. And it's like everything's trying to keep us from reading. I've been noticing that every time I'm trying to read, something stops me. It's very weird.
Yeah, if it's not on a screen, I'm not reading it. Mind you, though, I move around so much, lugging around big books and crap. It's not for me. But what can you do?
Read them on your tablet,
Yeah.
There you go.
I just get so distracted by everything else.
You sound a little distant there, Brian.
Oh, sorry. I'm just, I try to read, but I always get distracted. Like, I've got 4 books I'm working on, and I'm halfway through like a quarter of them.
Right.
I'm reading that last Jim Marrs book.
The last thing I read was The Teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda.
I've read that before. That's a good one.
Yeah. And Frank,
when I come across people that read, I'm like, yes, you're awesome. You still read. I mean, working in the 80s place, sometimes I come across people that read.
Yeah, it's not a popular thing nowadays, is it?
No. I mean, well, especially books. Like, most people be listening to books these days.
Right.
Like, they tell me, oh, I listened to that book, or I listened to that book. I'm like, okay.
Well, and it just goes to show you what we've been saying all along here too. Like I said, people don't remember phone numbers. They have to be spoon-fed everything, and it's usually on a screen. You know what I'm saying? Just like I just said, and it's kind of bizarre. I think it kind of removes.
And then at the same time, we have massive people thinking that they remember stuff from back in the day.
Yeah.
Yet they can't remember stuff like now.
Well, this, these like the millennials and
things.
Yeah, well, with the millennials and all these younger kids, I mean, a lot of them don't know life without a computer. Like, I remember I used to go outside and
I know that seems bizarre
skateboard
to me.
and ride bikes and shit, all that kind of good stuff when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, the idea of play. I mean, is that even a thing anymore? The kids go and play?
No, it has to have the word station at the end of it.
Right. I don't know. What about you, Brian? You have kids around, and do they play?
Yeah, that's pretty much all they do.
See, so he has people that there's a culture involved that people still play. It's just, or kids still play or whatever.
But like my understanding is they're the ones that are inducted in, you know, getting put like a tablet in front of them when they're younger. It's like all of a sudden that's what they think that is.
I think you would see that more so in like urban centers, like I think in more rural and country areas. I think you probably have kids more likely to be out playing. You know what I mean? In the urban areas,
I'm like right by a preschool, and obviously they play out, and when they're have like a recess type of thing.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I meant like the idea of like play dates and things like that, where you have like people have friends and they're have kids, and so they want their kids to meet other kids, and so they have these play dates.
Right.
That's what it used to be. I don't think that happens anymore. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have kids.
So. You got a lot of single
Ryan,
parents.
You need to get closer to the mic. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It's my headset.
Yeah. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was just basically saying that. Actually, I've lost my train of thought there.
Okay.
Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, Brian, you were pretty quiet there.
Now I can't hear you at all. Is he talking?
I'm not sure.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, there we go.
So the reason why I'm not talking so loud is because I'm like surrounded by people. So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you're like, I don't want to be too loud. I know I'm in my car, so so I'm able to be as loud as I want.
Yeah.
Sorry, people, just having some difficulties here with the sound, but yeah. Anyhow, what else? Where were we?
I don't know. Let's jump into the 5G though. We were going to bring that up at some point. So
a little while back, actually, I've been watching Never Lose Truth. That's what the heck was her other channel called? Anyway,
I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Kafka Winston World is what her original channel was.
Yeah, I think that one got shut down, didn't it?
Yeah, she got censored.
Yeah, no, a very bright lady, and she's been on. She's been kind of smashing everyone over the head with this, like for months now. Like she's been right on top of it.
Oh yeah, anyway, totally.
And highly recommend you guys go over to her channel and get some knowledge. And so does Level 9 News. She's quite intelligent.
Is she still around?
Yeah, she's kind of quiet right now. I'm not sure what's going on there in her life, but she's had a rough go of things. But okay. Yeah, I don't know if she's done any videos recently or not. So, but oh, there's my buddy Mark. Hey, bud. Hang on a second here. I'm just gonna answer him on the chat here.
Okay. But yeah, I have like a 3G, so I'm like so under, knowledgeable on that level. Although I've heard other people talk about it, and it sounds like it's like a Skynet kind of thing where everything connects to everything.
Well, the thing with the 5G that really irks me is that the 5G grid hasn't really been tested on a population. It's not like they don't really know any of the long-term effects, but this is basically like microwave frequencies, which if you add that to a smart grid, you can have like you can micromanage where these where this energy and how it's handled. Like it's really difficult to wrap my head around sometimes, but basically with the 5G network, what's happening is you are connecting everything on a really, really fast microwave kind of transmission, and I don't know if being immersed in that is healthy for the body. I mean, we've all seen YouTube experiments where people like put plants near a router and blah blah blah, you know what I mean, and shows the effects that it has on organic life basically. So I mean, if you fully immerse a population in this 5G grid, if you would, I think you're exposing a lot of people to some pretty bad energy, really. So
yeah, I agree. And being around, like, I mean, there's that whole smart meter thing. Mm-hmm. And I live in like Sacramento, and it's like a big grid. and basically all of the houses have smart meters. So it's basically creating a grid system of the smart meter, whatever level out, and it's just basically for that guy to come by and hit the button on it, so he doesn't have to go up to it to take temperatures.
Well,
but it definitely puts out more than it should. It's been tested. It's clearly like got more things like what do you call it, rads, I believe.
Yeah.
Then it's you know, like healthy levels for a human being. So it's like being like being inside of a microwave when you're by it, but you have to it creates like a torr, like a magnet does.
Right.
But and if you're in the middle, if you're in like the inside of the torr, then you're safe because of the field is where the actual damaging area is. You can take a tester and you can go along the field and you can find that.
Absolutely.
You can see that if you get closer to it, it's going to be less, and the further away you get, it's going to be more. But then when you get out of the range, it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, this is a big leap, but I mean, it's fair to say that if you had control over the power output of a general area, you could really create a false flag event. You know what I mean? Like you could really do some heavy damage to a lot of people in a populated area, and it's just food for thought.
That may have been done. That may have been done in certain scenarios that we have experienced with these rolling blackouts and things like that. Blackouts that seem to be timed.
Yeah.
Or perfectly oriented with like political agendas.
Yeah, G2 Voice, he's on about the power of the voltage going into these towers, hundreds of thousands of volts when cell towers only need milliwatts. It's a good point too. I mean, you got these, I call them Terminator arrays, but those big freaking antennas that they're putting near schools and near shopping centers. And I mean,
I've seen pictures of them and they just look bizarre to me. I haven't seen them where I live yet, but I'm sure they're going to be there at some point. Yeah. Probably going to be at that Doku.
Well, they're popping up these 5G.
It's like a stadium, so
yeah,
sounds like they'll probably put them there.
Well, if I understand correctly, the 5G grid, everything is going to be kind of at like head level, like there's basically going to be more of these transceivers like placed everywhere. They're smaller and cover a smaller area. But
are they gonna cover like camouflage them like they do with the cell towers?
Yeah, probably. But they'll be on the top. They'll be on buildings. They'll be on telephone poles. You know what I mean? Like these are like smaller units. Yeah, but it's going to be like a lot more of them. You know what I mean? So people are going to be walking by this stuff, and I mean, I just wonder what kind of problems we're going to be seeing develop over the years to come.
Well, doesn't that affect your mind in a certain way? I mean, because our minds work on certain frequencies, and it can match our frequencies.
It's speculated that it's possible.
Anyway, that's bizarre. I mean, I heard about these towers just pop up like one day, just randomly, and it was like all of a sudden there was news articles on it, and then it was like a thing, but nobody knew what they were. They were like, what are these things? They're just here. They're just popping up. Nobody's telling us where they are, what they are, and everything. People are taking pictures of them. You know what I mean? And then we finally find out that they're like these 5G things. And it's supposed to be like this accessible thing to where basically it's worldly accessible. And it makes it to where I think everybody will have Wi-Fi. So there'll be no place where you could go. Like there'll be no dead zones anymore, if you will. And except maybe that one that exists in Mexico. Los something.
Right.
Los Alamo. No, I can't remember the name, but it's a dead zone. Basically, it's an area where things die, people die. There's no sound. There's no animals, and you won't get any service.
Yeah, there's a place in Mexico. Yeah, what the hell is it called? Hang on.
Los something.
Yeah.
De los.
I think the name.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a Spanish name, basically. But
Yeah, just it was on the tip of my tongue there, and I just can't remember what the hell it was called. But anyway, yeah, apparently,
Paranormal investigators have gone there and checked it out and stuff. So
yeah,
that's how I came across it.
there's a movie that just came out on Netflix about the place too, about a girl. She goes looking for her boyfriend. He was an investigator, and he went out there and went missing, and she goes off looking for him and finds some weird shit.
I've seen that. I think I've seen that. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that movie either.
It's like a Blair Witch style type of thing, like where they have
it was
the
like
camera,
a found footage kind of story.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of predictable, kind of cheesy,
but gives you that story of that place, kind of.
Yeah. I'm just looking. Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, I can't find it here.
It's like the Mexico area, not Area 51, Bermuda Triangle, but it's on land. It's not in the ocean.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, there's a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, but no, that's not the place we're looking for.
I don't think that's the place.
No. Anyway, but if somebody knows the name of that place is, just fire it up in the live chat there. But
yeah, probably someone else will figure it out.
Yeah. So moving on anyway. Yeah, the 5G thing is pretty I don't know. It seems like it's a can of worms that's going to get opened up. Who knows what's going to happen though. So
switching gears for a moment, let's talk about that M3 whatever you call it, that disappearing plane. 370 M something 370.
Yeah, MH370.
Thank
you.
I just MH370. Yeah, tell me your story.
Oh,
because I saw that now. You told me about it, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Wow, that's bizarre."
Yeah, well, when they were looking for the plane, there's another boat that went missing for 3 days. It just dropped off radar or sonar rather, whatever. I don't know what they use, but you know what I'm saying. It went missing for 3 bloody days. Just dropped out and reappeared. So I mean, there's been a lot of
people came back. Did they have anything to say, or I mean, do they remember being gone for 3 days? I mean,
that's what I can't seem to find out. What's his name over? Secure Team 10 put out a video regarding this as well, and I didn't get that part of the story just wasn't clear to be honest. But it was really bizarre.
Deeper into it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely worth a look. Because even when it was happening at the time, I mean, remember they sent the search crews to the wrong places. It was like a huge debacle.
Yeah, and I don't remember any missing boats happening at the time. So it's like, why'd they report that way later?
Yeah, I don't get it. No, I actually don't understand one single bit why it is what it is. But it just seems to be layers and layers of controversy, and I don't know. I don't know what is at the bottom of that one. You got to remember too, another plane crashed, I think, in the Ukraine, and the bodies were already in a state of decay. After the plane crashed, they were cleaning up the wreckage.
And we kind of speculated that could have been a switched plane scenario.
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre because it was the same type of plane as well. So anyway, the whole thing is just surrounded by weirdness. I think
you can probably speculate that maybe it's a Bermuda Triangle kind of scenario, but maybe not necessarily a Bermuda Triangle, but that kind of element, like things coming together in certain ways to switch around situations to make altered reality, or I mean reality altering into some other scenario, and maybe those people went through some sort of time dilation.
Yeah, well, there's I think 12 vortices around the world. and they're kind of spread out. Like there's basically, like I said, 12 different Bermuda Triangle type locations where there's been a lot of strange activity.
Where the magnetic areas fluctuate and bend, and they cross each other.
Yeah, and there could be a combination of that and electrical filaments as well. Like like in the electrical universe model, anyway, you got plasma connecting. You got cold plasma basically connecting planets to the sun, right? And in that sense, I mean, you can get if you excite that plasma field, I'm sure you can get some kind of strange behavior from the ionosphere. Like it's one of those kinds of situations, I guess you could say. But I don't know. It's really it's just bizarre. I couldn't tell you.
It made me think. I mean, I talked to you about this last night, but it made me think of that Philadelphia experiment with the arc welding, because that ship disappeared for like 2 hours.
Yeah, and they paid homage to that in the new Cloverfield movie. I just watched that Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah, right. I know that was kind of. I mean, the movie was not good, but I mean, it was okay. There was elements that were good and not good, in my opinion, but that was one of the elements I liked because it made me go back and think about that element and kind of correlate it in a sense that like it's paralleling the storyline. That and also the Montauk Project.
Yep. It's I'm just thinking about the that Cloverfield movie, the Cloverfield Paradox. They really did a lot of predictive programming in that one.
That's probably why they made it so horrible. So we'd like remember it, talk about it, and only remember all the symbolism.
Yeah. Well, the movie didn't seem like it knew what it wanted to be for the first.
No, like you said last night, it was like another script that they just packed on or slapped on.
Yeah, they just slapped on a Cloverfield monster at the end of it.
Literally. And that made me think that the way that she was the ship was falling, that they were getting killed basically at that moment. It's like they're not coming back.
No. Yeah, no, it was, I don't know, it was kind of a crappy movie, and I didn't really like 10 Cloverfield Lane very much either. Again, that one they just slapped on an alien at the end of it and called it Cloverfield.
Definitely. Yeah, that was more of a prepper kind of storyline.
Yeah,
like I watched doomsday prepper kind of feel.
Well, it's funny because the character that John Goodman played had the same last name as a conspiracy theorist in the Cloverfield Paradox, the guy that was on the TV.
I bet you J.J. Abrams did that on purpose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that they're separated by 8 years, because the spaceship thing, that's in 2016.
Right.
Is it 2016?
No, you said it was last night. You said 2015.
Yeah, 2015 or 2016. And then the events of 10 Cloverfield Lane, I think.
Well, I think it was whenever that movie came out. They did it on that. It was like a year later or a year on that year.
I think it's 2008. No. So there's two different realities, eh? Like there's he's definitely screw J.J. Abrams. I mean, he's always doing this alternate reality shit, throwing people for a loop. Yeah, and then not giving any explanation. Yeah, him and his magic box. That's what it is, or a mystery box. That's right. Mystery box, because we're not supposed to know until the right time, kind of thing. Yeah. JJ, get lost. Anyway, so like that seemed like a parallel to me. The boat disappearing, and I was wondering if there was a possible arc welding scenario. Maybe the boat itself became electrified or something like that, to cause it to, because that's what essentially the only reason the Eldridge in the Philadelphia experiment, which is really called the Rainbow Project, it was, disappeared, so-called on radar, but literally out of existence. Like they didn't see it anymore for 2 hours. Then it appears down like the shoreline about 200 or yards away or 300 yards away, and then it disappears from there and then comes back. Right. So
there's definitely something was going on with that. And I was wondering, and that was kind of accidental. So I was wondering if another accidental scenario could have occurred while they were looking for the plane.
Right.
And where they were looking.
Yeah, definitely deserves some investigation, I would have to say.
Another one is the Flight 19, right? Because not only Flight 19 disappears, but also the crew that goes and looking for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're still on about MH370 here, right?
Yeah, but I'm comparing all some other disappearances and the weird occurrences of those disappearances.
Yeah, but I was going to say though that with the MH370 incident, I mean, they had it was like the largest search ever conducted, I think, and a lot of
probably outside of Flight 19. I think Flight 19 was the largest before that, probably.
I see. Yeah, I have to look into that one.
Oh yeah, it's like I think it's called Flight 19 because there's like 19 of them disappear.
Right.
And then a big jetliner goes and looking for them, and it disappears.
Interesting.
So yeah, look into that. It's pretty trippy. It's an old story. It's like 40s, I believe.
Yeah. It does ring a bell. I have to go and look at it again.
Go back to my ufology information. So, yeah, I got about 10 minutes left. If there anything, you want to get off and communicate with on this level before I have to take off, because I got to go back to work. And 10 minutes. So
no worries. Yeah, no, I think that pretty much we can wrap it up there. Just wanted to do a short little talk and reintroduce the show to YouTube, and it's great to have you with me, man. So much has
thanks
happened.
For having me.
We could probably drabble on for hours here, but
could.
I haven't settled on a particular day or time yet for the show, but
okay, well, just keep me posted, and I'll try to intercede when I'm available.
Absolutely. And I see Brian's got his mic turned off, so he might be AFK. But I'd like to thank Brian for coming out, and I'd like to thank all the listeners for their patience and for coming out. And
before you go, explain to me what the Save the Silly Humans is in the the idea behind it originally, because I'd like to know that.
Well, it started off as just a silly name, but as I started getting into more of the truther channels and watching YouTube and stuff, I decided to create a Google Plus group called Save the Silly Humans, and then it became a podcast. So at first, all I did was share other people's videos, and then when I finally started doing my own, it just kind of evolved.
Well, that's pretty cool. Oh, yeah. Also, you should tell them about your book.
Yes, I am in the process of writing Memoirs of a Time Traveling Idiot, and chapters 1 and 2 are both available to read at memoirsofatime-traveling-idiot.com.
Awesome.
And also, I was just going to also announce that I've created a new channel called Truth Hurts, and as I start working on more videos again, I'll be also pumping that channel.
I subscribe to that under my other channel name, Conspiracy.
Yes, I saw that in my emails today.
Yeah, so that's basically my research channel. I try to keep them lists and things like that. And I'm eventually going to put my tutorials of my gematria database on there and stuff. So, and let me plug that. If anybody is into gematria and does that stuff with the numbers, I keep a database of all that information, and it's under KON5 PIRACY .blogspot.com. Cool. Anyway, thanks for having me on. Oh, there goes Brian.
Brian just left the building.
Well, later, Brian. Thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks.
We'll have you on again.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure, and And thank you, everybody else. We'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace out.